All right, well, it's Thursday, so it's time for our weekly tech report. Now, do you know the phrase brain power? Well, it turns out that scientists at the University of Washington are trying to hone that power and transmit it to another brain. Researchers call it direct brain-to-brain communication, and they do it by passing a signal from one mind to the next, using the internet nonetheless. So does it sound a little sci-fi, Star Trek mind meld, Jedi mind trick Inception-esque to you? Well, it did to me too. So I brought one of the researchers onto the show to tell me how it works. Dr. Andrea Stocco is an assistant research professor at the University of Washington, and he told me why this concept is not as weird as it sounds.
It's not so science fiction. We use currently existing technologies to read the brain patterns in a person and to transmit them to a different person. And we can only do it with very simple impulses right now, like motor commands to control the hand, for instance. So it's not that science fiction. It was definitely possible years ago. It's just that we were the first to try it.
Sure. So can you go into a little bit more detail about how specifically it works, or what you need from the person, and also what you need from wireless internet to make it come together?
Yes. It works more or less like this. A person is sitting on a chair, and we call this person the first brain, or the sender, and is connected to an EEG cap. The EEG cap detects electrical activity all around the brain and is capable of recognizing when the brain patterns are those that a person produces when he's trying to move the right hand or is thinking about moving the right hand. These brain patterns are interpreted by a computer, who then controls a second computer who is connected over the internet, and the second computer controls a stimulating coil that produces a magnetic field. And it's the magnetic field that is eventually directed over the head in such a way as to reproduce the particular command in a selected part of the brain. In this case, the part of the brain that controls the right hand. The wireless connection enters only in the communication between the two computers. The two computers can be in the same room and connected physically, or they can be in any part of the world and talking to each other through the internet.
That's very interesting. So what do you think the future of this is? What kind of things other than moving hands are you trying to transmit between brains here?
Well, there are lots of possible developments of this technology. Our main goal was to show that it was possible, that we had the technology currently available, and the technology that we use is all technology that is available in most hospitals. And most importantly, it can be done in a way that is non-invasive without requiring surgical application of electrodes inside the brain, for instance. Two big directions are developing a more sophisticated way to control motor commands so that a person can think more complicated movements, like playing the piano, or if you're a surgeon performing a very complicated surgery. And this can be used to control another person who doesn't have the same skills to perform the same movements. Another way in developing this technology would be to transmit more complex information, for instance, sensory information about things that people see or hear, to another person's brain.
Now, you and your colleagues have described this process as, quote, lending part of your brain to somebody else. Could you think that this could be helpful with something like maybe medicine, where you have someone who's paralyzed and the other person is telling them to move their hand?
It is possible. We are just now speculating about a variety of possible applications. The fact is that for most of these applications, including the ones that are associated with neurorehabilitation or medicine in general, we just don't have the necessary knowledge, so we cannot really gauge whether this technology could be helpful or if it's not something that would be really impactful in the field. So we hope it would be, but we don't really know.
So what do you think overall it is that we are learning? Are we just learning right now that there's so little that we actually know about the capabilities of the brain?
Well, the brain is quite a big of a mistake for everybody who's working with it. It is the most complex system that has ever evolved everywhere in the universe, probably. So cracking the code of the brain is quite a challenge. What we're learning is that for very specific domains, we have enough knowledge to start doing something quite useful and quite unthinkable until a few years ago, like transferring pieces of information between two brains. And we don't know where this will lead. And of course, there are lots of problems, both technological and scientific, to be solved before it leads to something more useful than just making a hand move up and down. But we believe that in the next years or so, maybe a dozen or more dozen of years, we will be able to transfer information that is useful, like complex abstract information.
Very interesting. Dr. Andrea Stocco, I'm going to use my brain to thank you right now.
Oh, thank you. I'm mentally transmitting my, well, you're welcome. I hope you receive it.
Thank you. Assistant Research Professor at the University of Washington. Thank you so much.